The Dodgers had one of the most legendary off seasons of all times, not in just Major League Baseball, but in any sport. This is Tim Rogers with Dodgers 2080. And as you'll see, I have with me that I pre recorded a legend himself, the one and only Clint Pasillas of the newly formed All Dodgers channel. We get a chance to talk with Clint and really dive into some details about all the transactions that happened for the Dodgers in the 2023-2024 offseason. So let's just sit back, enjoy it a bit, and bathe a little bit in some of the gory details of the most amazing offseason in sports history.
Had your kids, had your wife.
I have with me the one and only Clint Pasillas, real FRG from All Dodgers. He is blowing up on the internet machine, as he likes to say. And we're just watching his channel grow like crazy. I think you're over 5,000 subscribers now after just a little over 2 months. So welcome aboard, my friend, my mentor, Clint Pasillas.
Mr. Tim Rogers, what is going on, man? Happy to be doing this. Love talking Dodger baseball. As you know, always love talking Dodger baseball with you over the years. And, it's about time you extended the olive branch to come onto your channel.
Well, that's because, as Clint knows, I'm still learning this tech stuff in terms of getting all this together. So at least I'm able to feel a little more comfortable doing it to bring on the major talent.
This guy over here. No, I appreciate you having me on, man. Looking forward to talking Dodger baseball, man. Like I said.
Yeah, and so what we're covering today is talked about in the intro. We're going to talk about the massive amount of transactions and go through them and just talk about, what we felt as things went through. Sometimes the mind changes as you think about it after a bit. I know that there's a few things in here I went, huh? And then later I'm like, okay, this is cool. So I'm just going to start and with talking about the free agents that are definitely gone. And JD Martinez, now he hasn't signed with the team, but I don't think we have room for him.
I feel a lot more confident about that Shohei guy over JD. As good as JD was, nice of a year that he had when healthy. Still prefer Shohei Ohtani. I know that right there is breaking news. Everybody's going to write about it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, hashtag breaking news. Then the cheater Jake Marisnick, David Peralta, who played injured at the end of the year, but at least he got that $1.5 million extra money. I'm not just saying.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to dive into each one of these guys after, or if I should riff on them.
We can riff all you want.
Because with Peralta, that's one that the more you think about it, the more frustrated you get that they just kept letting him play for essentially the entire second half of the season. They said he wasn't right. The elbow was wrong. It became once they said that, or once it was announced, hey, this guy just underwent an elbow operation and he'd been playing with it since whatever it was, since before the All-Star break. It's like, it all makes sense now. You start getting more and more annoyed at the fact that they had an opportunity to improve the team in the outfield at the deadline, but they kept running out this dude who, again, clearly was not right. And was David Peralta the reason that Freddie went 1 for 10 and Mookie went 1 for 11 or whatever it is? No, but it certainly doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth.
Hey, but at least we got a Freddie dance when down 9-0. So we had that going for him.
I remember tweeting about that one too. It's like,
actually, I liked the arm. I kind of liked that. I liked it more in the Freddie dance. Not a fan of the Freddie dance because I would look really bad doing it. And then
worse than Will Smith.
Yeah, right there.
All right.
Yeah, no, I'm not that bad.
Got a little rhythm.
A
I know,
little
I
bit,
know,
yeah.
I know you got some talent runs in the family, even if it just went to your kids and skipped a generation with you. I know you got a little bit of talent in there.
Hey, all I know is I still have my CD Cameos Word Up. So, and I have all the time, from Morris Day and the time. So I got something. Shelby Miller,
Yeah.
what signed with the Tigers. I was kind of bummed about that. I like him. Um, he was hurt a lot, but when he was in, he was pretty darn good, and he could go a couple innings too. Ahmed Rosario, who just signed with the Rays, is just a few hours before we recorded this.
Hmm.
And he was left off the playoff roster.
Yeah, that was one where he had all the allure of that shiny new toy or your rebound girl, and then you just kind of got over it as
Yeah.
the season went on. That's what it felt like with the team, and you know, Kike kind of outplayed him. Kike has all of the love and adoration from Dave, so he was going to get in that lineup over Rosario. But good luck to him in Tampa.
Yeah, and he seemed to really stop hitting even kind of near the end anyway. But he was fast and had some enthusiasm and seemed to play good second base. And then the guy who did make it on the playoff roster, surprisingly, Colton Wong. I don't know where he's at, but I don't think he's coming back.
Did he sign anywhere yet?
No, I looked it up today just to be
Oh,
sure.
yeah, I
And
can't
then
think.
a
Yeah.
guy who probably may not be in Major League Baseball for a long time, number 7, Julio Urias. Ugh. I
We'll
know.
avoid that one as much as we can, but talk
Yep.
about a fall from grace.
Oh my gosh. Yep. Almost gone. I have Kike Hernandez. He's still, who knows? I'm a fan. I'd like him back, but there's not room. But I'm a believer in stacking talent. So I would sign him, but not my money. Not my team. And then a favorite of yours, I believe, the one and only Jimmy, also known as Yimmy Nelson. He's
Yeah,
still around.
you completely. He was one of those guys. I mean, I wrote so many articles about that dude last year, and I mean, one or two felt like too many when you're talking about Mr. Stimmy Nelson.
Stimmy, that was it. Oh my.
Just he just could not figure out how to get the ball going fast over the plate anymore. And I remember that one time he did appear in spring training last year, could not find the strike zone. And at some point, what do they say? You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and know when to maybe hang up the spikes and get into coaching.
Yeah, it's really too bad. I mean, this guy he was a really good pitcher in 2017, and then was it sliding back into first base on a pickoff throw or something like
Yeah, had the what was it, shoulder dislocation
that?
or whatever it was, and then the elbow gave out when he was having that really really good
Yeah.
year as a reliever with the Dodgers. Was that all the way back into 2021?
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, just not whenever we hear people talk about, oh, he had Tommy John, he'll be back in a few, whatever it is, 12 months, and it won't be that big of a deal. Anything, he might come back stronger. Not that this be, the rule or whatever, the lesson. Not every single pitcher is guaranteed to come back from Tommy John and be perfect. We've seen it with him. We saw it with Syndergaard.
Right.
D-Make going through it right now as well.
Exactly. Now, the transaction. So I didn't mention any of the guys that were free agents that have come back, but the first transaction that showed up was Jason Hayward re-signing. What were your thoughts on when that happened?
I thought at the time it was a nice deal. You advance through the entirety of the or of the off season. You wonder if maybe they could have gone a little bit better in right field. All that said, I think what's most important about Jay to this club is him being in that clubhouse. I think that became um, just a huge. What am I looking for here? That was an important piece to that clubhouse in transitioning out of the JT era and helping it find its new voice and really the guys that are going to help take care of things outside of the baseball field or whatever, all of the kids, the rookies, meeting with the team and eating and
Yeah.
getting the good vibes going and all that kind of stuff. So I like the move. it's at what was it, 9.5 million or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
something like that. Yeah.
Ultimately, relatively low risk, and if he's able to replicate what he did last year, hitting from the left side against right-handed pitching, I think it could be it could be one of the better signings of the offseason for any team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could
And
also fall apart. It could the clock could strike midnight, and Cinderella's going to lose her shoes out there in right field.
well, the good thing is though they could have. I mean, if that does go south, I mean, it's easier to get a corner outfielder. They can also move Teoscar, who we'll talk about later, Teoscar Hernandez into right field. Or my hope is, of course, that Andy Paez all of a sudden uh, gets healthy and gets right back to where he was and is their starting right fielder by July.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's way more advanced in his recovery from his season-ending surgery, shoulder operation last year than I thought he would be. I mean, he's already at Camelback. He's hitting. The reports are coming out of Camelback, very positive. But
Yeah.
as you know, as I know, as people, as ball knowers who have watched this team for a long time, we've seen that shoulder issue. Um, that's another one. It's like Tommy John or whatever. This is one, yeah, you're going to come back, but maybe it takes you a year or two before you get back into your old swing. And I could cite Matt Kemp back in what was it, 2009 or whatever it was,
Yeah.
running into that wall, and things just weren't right for a while. Adrian Gonzalez, of course, famously talked about that throughout his career. So you hope Paez is on the right track and is somebody that could be a viable weapon for this team, either to fill a hole, on the roster or as trade fodder, by mid-season. But again, happy the reports are high on him right now.
Yeah, me too. So the next trade, it was kind of to clear some roster spots for some things we'll talk about in a minute. They were pretty big, but 2020 World Series champion Victor Gonzalez and friend of the show Yorbit Vivas were traded to the Yankees for former first round pick Trey Sweeney, which was like everyone's going. All of a sudden, everyone's an expert now on Trey Sweeney. It was kind of
That
funny
was what,
to watch
yeah,
that. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's great. Like, oh, whatever. We'll find out.
yeah. Now, we knew once that move happened at least I got a kind of sense that this was definitely going to be a different kind of offseason, because if there's one thing Andrew Friedman loves doing, it's holding on to dudes for
Yeah.
dear life as long as possible. If you can maximize one more relief appearance out of him 6 months from now before DFAing him, they love doing that. But the fact that they're able to get some talent back
Yeah.
at a position where the organization needs some help, I'm all for it. And you know what? Good luck to Victor over there in New York, because they need some
Yeah.
help.
Yeah. And then the next couple signings got really interesting. So we had a wife out there hawking her husband's number. So we kind of knew that that was coming back. So Joe Kelly signed, and then all of a sudden this other guy signed after, I don't know, probably the wackiest day in baseball offseason history, the infamous Friday of the flight
Of
and the
Southern
bad and the
California.
articles and the burned reputations and Bob Nightingale becoming a hero for being accurate. Um, Shohei Ohtani, after all these years of us going, are we getting him?
It
6 years ago
happened.
being so disappointed. I know that Doug, you guys have, we're definitely talking about it for years. We got Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, that was, I mean, that whole, let's say, week, when you're talking about the Joe Kelly signing, and then you're kind of waiting for that to become official, and you knew things were working in the background, much like the Victor Gonzalez trade, but you knew they needed to clear some roster space. Um, Dave Roberts became the villain by admitting the most obvious thing
Yeah.
in all of humanity, that yes, the Dodgers have spoken to Shohei Ohtani at some point this offseason, but it comes together. He's a Toronto Blue Jay. Congratulations, Toronto. And then it's a hold your horses, and then the next, what was it? Not even 24 hours, or just about
Yeah.
24 hours, was one of the more. I mean, it's pretty exhilarating as a Dodger fan, and it's also pretty painful as a Dodger fan, because you are just like, okay, where do they go from here? Are they still going to be in on Yamamoto? Or are they going to bring back JD Martinez? And then say, hold on. About an hour after that, it's like, hold on, people are saying nothing is done, nothing is official, and the next day, as you knew, as you would hope, and as you'd expect, Shohei says, taking my talents to South Beach, and by South Beach I mean Los Angeles.
So it was just amazing. I'm on that Friday. I actually put a tweet out because I gave up hope for about 5 minutes, and I put a tweet out that says, "Hey, time to move on.
Yeah,
We just keep moving on." And but then it's like it just didn't start. It started to not make sense. And yeah. Then you start finding more information out. Then it just became funny, and hopefully everyone's trying to get getting their reputations back, and
yeah. I've definitely I've heard from some folks about a few different angles. From the Morosi, from the DN scenario and all of that, and hearing what was actually going on in
Yeah.
Shohei's camp. It's like, yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense than everybody trying to be that. I mean, I understand you want to try to break the story. Morosi's there, of course. The other JP. I don't know. I don't want to come off like a dick here or whatever. I'm not trying to like say
Yeah,
anything.
don't.
I understand um, the. I understand that situation. It's an incredibly tough situation for everybody involved, because you do want to be that guy who breaks the story. You want to be whoever it may be, even if it's Robert Murray trying to break the story or whatever.
Yeah.
It's you're definitely you're not playing with house money, though, when all eyes are going to be on Shohei, and sometimes it backfires.
Yeah. And then in between, what was interesting then was during the Shohei Ohtani, right around the Shohei Ohtani stuff going on, Bruce Kuntz breaks the news about a trade that, again, friend of the show, huge friend of the show, Ryan Papio, and then Johnny DeLuca being traded to the Rays for Tyler Glasnow and Manny Margot. And I'm going, why would you trade 5 years of Papio for one guy that's kind of glassy? And it's in his name. Um, but then during the Shohei press conference, I look at my phone and it's like, oh my gosh, they're they're working on a contract for Glasnow. It's like, okay.
Yeah, if they're doing that, they're trading away controllable talent. Who, when he was healthy, Ryan Pepio was really good last year, and that's what we were hoping he was going to be, kind of one of the dudes last year. Injuries made it so it wouldn't be. Now he has an opportunity to go to another organization that is, let's say, renowned for making, bringing the most out of its pitching talent. So you feel good for him. But I remember, because that was an exciting day. That was one of the second or third lives that I had done, coming back from the grave there on All Dodgers. I had you on from the Shohei presser, and I think the Tyler Glasnow thing happened either just after we wrapped or just
Something like that.
before we jumped on. There was a whole mess of everything going on, but just one of those crazy days. You got Shohei and wearing Dodger blue for the first time, wearing that ugly uniform or the ugly back name uniform thing that Nike messed up. And then, oh yeah, they went out and got another dude who, I mean, I don't know if you want to call him Tyler Glasnow or Shatter Now or whatever, but I did a video about it because I kind of like looked at the whole history of Glasnow, as we just rant and ramble here. And I'm sure everybody else has kind of come to the realization of it as well. But I was like, what happened to Tyler Glasnow? Why has this been such an issue? Why is he pretty much each year start maybe 9 or 14 games and then just kind of crap out? Well, he had a misdiagnosed UCL injury and he was pitching through it in 19, in 20,
Yeah.
and through parts of 2021. And then, the whole thing with it's the baseball change and it made it slippery and it gave me an ouchie. No, it was already there before.
Yeah.
But they got it fixed. He had a solid year last year, pitched around, I think it was an oblique injury, but now, if he's somebody that has oblique injury issues, he'll fit right in with the Dodgers, I guess.
Yeah.
But you feel really, really damn good about adding that. Not a 1-2 punch quite yet, but next year it'll be a 1-2 punch with Shohei and Tyler Glasnow. But they wanted one more two to that punch, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, and in between that, there were some interesting things that happened. Daniel Hudson re-signed, minor league contract, and then another one I liked, which was Nabil Crismatt that they got
That
from the
fool
Padres.
Nabil, yeah.
Dude was good in 2022. And he got hurt last year and kind of fell off their radar there, but I was kind of fired out. I think I don't be surprised if he somehow makes the roster at some point before probably his June opt out. That's my guess. There's a June opt out.
Yeah, I look at him like one of those, Wander Franco dudes we saw. Not Wander Franco, the other one, Wander Suero.
Yeah.
Bad one.
Yeah.
Wander Suero from last year where, they signed him and he showed out pretty nice during spring training. He has that kind of track record of some major league success, but I think his was maybe a little more recent. Is Crismatt, his is a little more recent and consistent. So I think you bring somebody like that to the Dodgers, it's really just going to be a win-win for both sides. So you'll definitely see him before that opt-out. They won't let him get away.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and we experienced so much last year, all the injuries that were out there. And then, after all that, the Pepio DeLuca for Glasnow, Margot, and Cash went through. Bruce Kuntz nailed. He had like 5 or 6 days beforehand.
Yeah,
Glasnow
that was pretty
signed
cool to see.
5-year extension. And you go, oh, our pitching staff's starting to look a lot better now. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then, you were out doing some live show, and right in the middle of it, I think it was Ralph Jim Bowden put something out that the Dodgers were about on the verge of signing Yamamoto.
It was getting close.
And then it kept coming and kept coming. I kept texting you, and you were seeing stuff. Everyone, other people contributing, and so Clint got to be live while the Dodgers signed the biggest pitching contract in history, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. What a
Yama money right there. 12-year 326 or 325 turns down. We just learned today when we're recording this, just turns down the higher offer from the Phillies to come play in LA, which I would argue is the smarter play. Phillies, no disrespect to them, very good, really, cool to know the Philly was going out and trying to spend more money. But and I've thanked you before. I'll thank you here on your show for being somebody that was helping, confirm the news, the sources that things were actually happening. Because you know how it goes when you're live. There's 50 different things that are going on at once. You're running a show by yourself. Your pets' heads are falling off, and then all of a sudden, there was one guy. It was like some random New York. Media personality was the guy who said it. And the funny thing is I was literally about to sign off, and I was like, let me just throw out one last feeler question to see how people are feeling. And then that started happening. And then it was a party for the next, 45 minutes to an hour. And now we're still partying in spring training because the sources, my eyes say Yoshinobu Yamamoto's pretty effing good.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. That's who I'm looking forward most to watching. It's not Shohei. I mean, I love Shohei. Really excited to have him. We've seen him hit plenty. Yeah. We haven't seen Yamamoto really that much. I mean, I don't even remember him in the WBC. Got to be honest with you.
Well, Shohei was the man.
Yeah, Shohei
he was doing it all.
You mean Shohei might have that clutch gene? Is that what we're saying? Let's hope so.
Well, we will find out soon enough. But seeing him clutch up against his now former teammate Mike Trout, on the mound. I think if I remember correctly, didn't he get a clutch double in that game or
Yeah.
whatever it was? I mean, Shohei is an insane talent, and now I would agree with you. I think if we're entering this season or as we enter the season, I'm more excited to watch Yamamoto over Ohtani hit. Now we flash forward to next year.
Oh,
That's
man.
going to be exciting to watch those dudes really captivate the global baseball audience for 2 days, in a row. Because I think you and I are a lot alike, where we would prefer to see really good pitching. We would like to see a pitcher's duel. We want to see some killer defense before chicks dig the long ball. And with Yoshi, I think we're going to get a lot of that, and it's going to be very, very exciting. As we used to say back in the day, must see TV.
Yeah. No kidding. Must see YouTube now.
Must see YouTube.
Now, well, I look at it this way. They have 2 of the 3 samurai. We've got one more coming next year. Just saying. Let's hope so.
Rookie watch started early.
Oh, yeah. And when they did finally sign, make everything official with Yamamoto, they did DFA Brian Hudson, 6'8" pitcher. I met him in the clubhouse. One of the few times I got a pass. Dude looks like Blake Snell, except not as high looking. Or not as, oh my gosh, I played video games all night eyes.
Yeah, that's fair. I remember seeing him at Camelback last year because we were there really early, and it's like, who the hell is this tall ass dude?
Yeah.
You got to feel bad for that dude. He's one of those guys where his whole off season, he's just probably like, oh no, they're coming for me. The walls are closing in. People like him, people like, you already mentioned Victor, one more guy who we'll mention soon enough. One guy I was assuming he was on my list, and I was very hesitant to mention, one of the next guys you're going to mention, just because I know how people are on the internet. Like, you're an idiot. You should go jump off a bridge. You don't know anything about what they're going to do. They love this guy, but sorry, Caleb.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then they ended up trading Hudson to the Brewers, if you recall, for Justin Chambers. Had to remind myself, 2023 draft choice in the last round, but he was given a $547K bonus coming off TJ. Mm-hmm. So there's something about that guy, and we know your buddy, little Andrew Friedman, knows what he's looking for.
Give him to Andrew, give him to Rob Hill, give him to Connor McGinnis, and just let it eat. So exactly. I'm excited to see that guy, even if it's going to be, we're not going to see him for, maybe 2 or 3 years. Excited to see just adding more talent to the pool that was, let's be honest, in pretty desperate need of talent.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a lefty, because if you look at the top 30 prospect list for just about any of them, 12 to 13 to 14 of them are right-handed starters.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a nice problem to have, if I have a wallet full of 20s, but I really wanted a $10 bill, I could just break a 20 or whatever. I don't know. I lost the analogy there, but I was on to something for a second.
Yeah. Well, then they started working on that a little bit more when it was a little shocker for me, but we knew this had to happen. Play him or trade him, and they traded him. Michael Busch, along with Yancy Almonte, went to the Cubs for another lefty, Jackson Ferris, second rounder, 2022, $3 million bonus, which the Dodgers never get those types of guys on their own. And a guy named Zaire Hope, who was drafted in the 11th round with a lot of talent with a $400K bonus. But it's the Jackson Ferris thing that you just go, oh, here we go. Now we have some left-handers in the minor leagues. We have, of course, now Justin Chambers, Jackson Ferris, I'm guessing high A. And then we already have Maddox Bruns. Now we got Justin Robleski and Ronan Kopp's like, oh, they're coming. The lefties are coming just in time.
Yeah. And on that one, I'm sure that was somewhat of a painful day for you, a still kind of recovering prospect hugger, to see Mr. Michael Busch go. But you also really you love that this kid's going to get an honest opportunity in Chicago. I hope he does open the season as their starting for first baseman. Just leave him there.
Yep.
let him grow, let her rip. I had a conversation with our friend Casey Porter about Michael Busch, and I really liked one of the things he had mentioned, how Busch is kind of notoriously a slow starter, and you're mixing in infrequent playing time in LA, mixing around different positions. Like the cards were very much stacked up against Mikey Busch, but now he's got an opportunity to, I guess, prove the adage we kept saying, that he has nothing left to prove at AAA. So now it's literally go out and prove it in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm happy for him. I mean, it really was play him or trade him. I mean, Casey and I, we've been saying that for well over a year. It just hasn't been fair to him. But, now he has a chance. Then there's, some little signing of, I'm going to get it wrong. Eliezer Hernandez, who's been around a long
I
time.
really like that signing, by the way. That's my sneaky guy. I get a feeling, I said on my stream on Monday that he's probably going to end up being like one of the guy that starts the Cactus League lifter on Thursday, just because it's always one of those randos that has some sort of big league experience or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'll probably be wrong. And this, you might drop this after that game already happened. So this kind of was either pointless, or they're going to be like, that guy was smart, or we're lying and we didn't record.
Well, it's right. It's
Tuesday.
right there. Was it the guy, the lefty from Boston, Kirkman or something like that? He started like in 2021
last year or 2 years ago. I forget who it
like
was.
that.
He's one of those guys where just like, all right, thanks for stopping by. But
last name started with a K and he was a lefty.
AAA ace.
Yeah, the quad guys, right?
Yeah, I remember the name ish, but I do not remember the actual letters that make up the name.
Yeah, it's something like Kirkman or something like that. And then things got hot again, man.
Kick him. It was kick him.
Yeah.
There it is.
Look at you.
Pointless knowledge to derail the show.
But yeah, things got fun again, man. All of a sudden, Teoscar Hernandez. We'd heard he wanted 3-4 year contracts, and the Dodgers are going, I don't know about that for a left fielder and all that type of stuff. But they got him for 1 year, 23+ million. Somebody, of course, is deferred. I mean, we didn't mention that was Shohei's contract. The Dodgers, the king of deferments. And I think it was you who mentioned on one of your shows, you were talking about him and Shohei. They are the guys with legit power versus, Mookie and Freddie have power, but it's not, oh my gosh, they're going to hit it 450 feet to 500 feet.
Yeah, they need to turn. They're the type of dudes that need to turn around a fastball to get it, or put a really, really good swing on a, hang it and bang it curveball or whatever. But when you get to people like Teo, you get to people like Shohei, these are the guys that will, if they're on the field for BP before a game, they're going to put on a power display. And I've seen that a lot, I had a buddy, back in the day, he was a season ticket holder. And, if you're a season ticket holder at Dodger Stadium, you can get in early. You could actually see Dodgers BP. And what's funny is everybody on the other teams is cranking balls halfway up the pavilion, as where the Dodgers are just going gap to gap and maybe just like, eking one over a wall. I've always found that kind of funny, pointless thing to bring up right here, but you're going to get these type of guys with Teoscar and Shohei that have the legitimate, the show pop.
Yeah, and that's going to play in the playoffs. I have made the prediction. I don't know if I stole it, but maybe I did. I don't know, but I got Teoscar Hernandez as the NLCS MVP for 2024.
Man, we're doing predictions that far out. I am behind. I'm way behind then.
Yeah. So, and that's being very optimistic given the last 2 years where they've won one playoff game, literally one playoff game in 2 years.
But the way the Hernandez signing came together, it's the Hernandez that I would have preferred over Kike for sure, because this was every bit of a need the team had. It was painfully obvious. Way too many lefties in that lineup. You need to break it up with some sort of right-handed power. They brought in ultimate right-handed power, and it was a type of dude where we knew at that point, obviously they were in on him, but they felt at that point. We could argue that the Dodgers felt at that point they had done enough. Anybody else that joins a team is going to fall into their market. We saw that happen with Teoscar Hernandez, and I would find anybody to try to argue against me on that one. They were not going to sign him for multi-year deal. It was going to be, you can come here, but only if it works out to what we want. Same with a guy we're going to talk about in a second, like James Paxton.
Exactly. And yeah, another one just fell into their lap. James Paxton, who used to be very, very good. He was
Yeah,
a very well-regarded guy. And I saw that he hit 97. So
he's
I don't
still
know if
got the
that was
juice in the
last
tank.
year or if that was from this year's spring training, but there's something there.
I think one of the things they were talking about with his, the end of his time in Boston was the velo kind of being inconsistent on him. He started the season
Oh yeah.
there in the high 90s and then kind of fell into the mid to lower mid 90s and all of that. Now he's with an organization that cares.
Yeah.
They want to win. They're going to do what they can to maximize. The Noah Syndergaards are very, very few and far between when it comes to these kind of duds. So you feel really good about them trying to get, or them being able to get the most out of James Paxton, Big Maple. And the important thing is, he doesn't need to be an ace. He doesn't need to be a number 2 or even a number 3. Just go out there, compete every 5th or 6th day. That is all you got to do. Try to get them 19 to 25 starts or something like that. That's literally all Paxton needs to do.
Yep, 100 to 120 innings would be wonderful. I mean, last year had very few guys even got to that number.
Yeah,
Got so bad
last
they
year
had to trade for
was pretty
Lance
painful.
Lynn.
Ooh, and he gave up a home run just right now.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for Dan Inspiration for that. And then the Dodgers, man, they so many transactions. We're still not done. You alluded to him earlier. Caleb Ferguson was traded to the Yankees. Another lefty sent to the Yankees for another lefty reliever, Matt Gage, and Christian Zazueta, 19-year-old from Mexico, international free agent. He's only played in the Dominican Summer League.
Yeah, what is up with that? How has he played in the DSL 2 years in a row? That just
Uh,
seems kind of odd to me.
he's only 19, so some of those guys do sit back. I'm assuming he'll be in Arizona Summer League, or is it? Yeah, Arizona Summer League, or is it ACL? Arizona Cactus League, one of the two. Arizona. But Caleb Ferguson, it just seems like I wonder if the Dodgers are almost like me. They just got tired of him. It's like you go in there and you see it throw the same stuff. It just seems so. I don't know. I didn't see the improvement. I think, what we saw before he got hurt in 2020. Dude was really good for a bit there. When he got hurt, that just was awful. And
Yeah.
it just seems like that he never really regained that confidence back. I don't know.
I mean, not to say he was bad by any stretch of
You're
the
right.
imagination, but with where the line or where the roster was headed, where the pitching staff was headed, you start to identify the clear weak points, in on the roster, and that was just like, hey, we appreciate your service, but you just don't fit here anymore. We're going to give you an opportunity. I don't know what they're doing with him in New York yet. I really hope he does get the opportunity to kind of start, because I know how much Ferg wants to start. He still wants to be a starter. His best, opportunity to earning money as a major leaguer is going to be in the starting rotation at this point. We know the Yankees need some help in the rotation still, so hopefully they find a way to maybe stretch him out along the way throughout the season. But yeah, I think we all kind of felt it last year. He started out really good, and then after whatever it was, like 10 games, the season started to spiral, and when you find yourself somehow like not in the good graces of Dave Roberts, you did something wrong. And I don't
Yeah.
know, I'm not accusing him of anything, but I think it's just one of those things. It was kind of it ran its course, as it were.
Yeah, it did seem like that. It was just, and he can be a free agent after next year. So, they're taking Matt Gage is a journeyman. I think he's over 30 already. Zazueta, or however you say it, Forgive me. Um, you never know. Maybe he's the next whatever. You know that you again you put him through the Dodgers development,
Mhm.
and maybe like Zaire hope they're hoping to get that to work that some talent and see what's there.
Hey,
Um,
I would rather, spend, if I'm going back to the old analogy there, I'd rather spend my $10 on some scratch offs
mhm.
than just throw it literally in the DFA trash or whatever. So it just, the fact that they're able to get any talent from Brian Hudson, from Victor Gonzalez, and we'll throw in Jorbit Horbit Vivas, and then also Caleb Ferguson. I mean, it was
Yeah.
in many ways a masterclass of an offseason for Andrew, Brandon, and company.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where and it just made sense, especially because a few days later they signed Ryan Brazier, who was really good and better against left-handed batters than probably any of the other left-handers that they had on their staff last year, at least in the bullpen. I'm generalizing probably a little bit, but I'm probably not too far off.
When we're talking about the overall consistency of his season after joining the team, compared to the only lone lefty that's left, Alex Vesia, and his up and down season, and his ability to quite often miss up and arm side. I think they definitely took the approach of, let's just go get some dudes that can get outs. Who cares how they throw? And then we'll put all this porridge together and figure it out, or gumbo, or whatever the hell you would make out of humans or baseball pitchers. But I wasn't exceptionally high on the Brazier like idea, but now that he's back, I feel good about it. I'll put a hot take out right now that I don't think JP Fireeisen ends up making the team out of spring. He does have options,
Hmm.
and I think they're going to want to see some things with some other guys, and maybe that's just recency bias and him giving up a homer to Shohei, Luxy, and CT3 and BP on Monday. But that's just my for no reason hot take. If you're able to say that Teoscar Hernandez is going to be the NLCS MVP,
Yeah,
I'm going to get you something a little bit sooner.
there you go. And then before the last big one, Dinelson Lamet got the invite, which I don't know if he's in camp yet because the last I heard he still wasn't in.
The visa issues or whatever it is.
But he was back in 2020 before the Padres wrecked his arm again. He was really good, but like you said, those injuries, you never know. I mean, he was a guy that had a ton of value, um, and just the arm injuries got him, and now he's hoping to get on the major league roster before his personal option runs out, where he can opt out.
Mhm.
But and last but not least, at least the last transaction that's on the list so far. Maybe they're not done because you never know with this group. They've made some February moves before. Freddie Freeman, Trevor Bauer, Mookie Betts. I mean, geez, Louise. But they brought back from the Mount Rushmore of Dodger pitchers, future first ballot Hall of Famer, Mr. Clayton Kershaw. He had to come back because we just can't end it the way it ended last year. It's just made me sick, and I still get sick thinking about it.
Yeah, no. Clayton was always going to come back. You really hope he can put it together. You hope that he can, bounce back from the surgery, because let's I'll I when I was doing my series spring training preview series, had a bunch of different personalities on, folks that hadn't been on the channel yet. I spoke with Jeff Snyder,
Yeah.
sorry, Jeff Spiegel of
Hmm.
Dodger Blue, and he kind of changed my opinion or whatever. He planted a little Kershaw brain bomb in my head about how there's no guarantee that Kershaw does come back this year, and I
Right.
think we can kind of see that being borderline indicative of that player option. It's like, if it doesn't come together this year, you do have next year to try to figure it all out, because that was not a simple surgery he underwent. But the fact that we go back into just after the Shohei signing, he does the interview with Dave Vassay, and Kershaw's talking about how he's feeling good. Comes into spring training, he's saying all the right things. I feel pretty confident. I would say we are going to see Clayton Edward Kershaw don that number 22 this year, and it's not just going to be in the dugout because he says he'll be with the team during home games, which I think is really cool.
Good.
He wants to be around the boys and all of that, but you know, August seems like a pretty nice target to add to that starting rotation and make that maybe final World Series run for him.
Yeah, and with a repaired shoulder, maybe he gets a couple extra miles per hour back. Who knows? I mean, that's really his first, arm related type injury or surgery that he's had.
Yeah, first
For
surgery of
surgery.
any kind
Yeah.
or of anything in the we don't know. I don't remember if he's had anything, outside of like an epidural in the back, but we know the back has bothered him. We don't know how much this shoulder has honestly bothered him over the years, considering he is a lifelong curveball pitcher. I would imagine it's barked at him at some point in time
Yeah.
over his life, particularly over the last few years. But his uncanny ability to adapt to his body and to the league and still with a half attached shoulder go out and put up the numbers he put out at least
Yeah.
in the regular season to wrap up the season. Sure, the advanced numbers didn't love him, but we still respect an ERA under 2.5 to end the whatever it was, his final 8 starts or whatever. But then he faces a team that was hungry and one misplay in center field later, everything just really, really spiraled pretty quickly. And, admittedly, he's had his struggles against D-backs in the past, but that was not the way for CK22 to end his Dodger career. Hell, no way in hell was that going to be it.
Right. And he's still, I don't know, he says he doesn't look at the numbers. 56 more strikeouts to 3,000. I
He looked
just,
desperate.
as Clayton Kershaw's not even my favorite, but I root for him so much because I think he's a good dude and he's a Dodger legend. And then him ending as a Ranger just doesn't seem right. And I had on my show, I had said quite a few times if he's coming back, if he's going to play, he's going to play for the Dodgers. It just got to that, especially with the 60, the whole 60-day IL trickery you have to do and all those things. But
Yeah.
and then
It played
there's
out,
some,
I'll say it played out to button it up on Kershaw. It played out pretty much, I think, the way most of us assumed. It's going to be
yeah,
announced right around the start of spring training, and then it was, and it came together. It has been officially announced as well.
yeah.
So all is right in the world. But
Yep,
anyway,
it is the last transaction, at least right now, on the Dodger site. Um, there's more coming though, real soon. There's going to be, options and more invites and all that. But there are 4 guys that are being added back to the roster at some point in 2024 of guys that missed the whole season 2023. Gavin Lux. I mean, the guy was the top ranked prospect after 2019. I'm kind of I'm a little scared about the knee, maybe losing some movement out there, but we know the bat, if it's there, it's going to be quite a bit better than Miggy Rose was. Let's put it that way.
yeah, I mean, I really do love the position this team finds itself in, and really Lux finds himself in. I've been barking about Lux's knee for hell, even into half a season of Blue Heaven. That worry of eventually him coming back, and you worry about losing a step or making an awkward step, and then that's stuck in your head, and then it all spirals. Like one of the things that stood out to me at one point was Dino Ebel mentioning, getting over the mental of it. We know that the mental can get to Lux at times. However, as we're kind of progressing more into it, there's all of the focus at camp is on Shohei. I
Yeah.
think that helps Gavin. Just all he needs to do is go play a passable shortstop. Go play, don't be a problem there. And be the best number 9 hitter in baseball. That's all you got to do. That is all you got to do. Just go out, have some fun, and right some wrongs that happened last year, because last year was supposed to be his year, and he was hyped. Talked to him at Camelback Ranch 2 days before the injury happened, and this was a guy that was excited. He was pissed at the kind of mid-year he had in 22 with only hitting 6 home runs, and we saw him bulk up. He's looking like a grown-up now. He was a kid when he first came up, and I think some of us forget the fact that he was still a kid, tearing up AAA, forced his way onto the roster at the end of 2019, but sometimes deer meets headlights.
Yeah, and eventually did. And yeah, I saw him a few days afterwards in the clubhouse, just over in the corner with a huge brace on his knee before he had surgery. And just it was heartbreaking to see. Just to see that. But Gavin Lux is back, and hopefully everything's good with him. I'm more and more optimistic. Maybe that's just spring talking to me, but yeah, I'm hopeful with that. Then we have the guy with video game stuff, Blake Trinan.
Forgot about that. Yeah. Trinan already looking nasty. I mean, he's the guy who punched out Shohei Ohtani and sent a ball off his instep. And so I think I didn't listen
and
to
made
it
him
yet.
yell.
Exactly. That one, another one of those things that breaks the internet. But you if you get anywhere near the Blake Trinan that we know, that the 2020 2021 Blake Trinan, this is going to be a hell of an addition to this bullpen, where all throughout a lot of the offseason we're hearing about, they want to go add a closer. Are they going to go get Kenley? Please no.
No.
Are they going to sign Josh Hader? Yeah, that would have been nice, but still, you're adding somebody where, again, if he's right, which so far early in spring sounds like he's right, Blake Trinan is going to be an insane weapon to add to just that setup, core of dudes with BT, with Bruce Dark Gratterall, and with Joe Kelly, bridging to Evan. If they are gonna, kind of have the closer, which they may or they may not. We know how Dave is at this time of spring.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the closer, but I still remember, they'd bring Trinan in 5th, 6th inning. I remember I was like in Target during 2020 or something like that, when they finally started playing again, and he brought him in for Tatis, like in the 5th or 6th inning, and he just made him look silly.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when Tatis was probably fully on his ringworm medicine.
Yeah, he had ringworm. Come on, guys.
Everything like that. But yeah, he was nasty. Then there's the next two coming off Tommy John. And I love this guy. He is my true ace, Walker effing Buehler. He is the October ace. There's reasons that the Dodgers did not win in the past few years, and he's one of the biggest reasons, because that dude is October. And we're not hearing the best of things right now. I mean, I think some people are starting to freak out a little bit. I just think it needs time, but he is coming back from Tommy John, and like you said, not everyone comes back the same.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about Walker. I think right now he's still in the January mindset. He's not trying to ramp it up yet, because he doesn't need to ramp it up. He's essentially got a free play month here at spring training. Just had a kid, clearly doesn't want to be home with the wife and the baby. He wants to go out and hang out with the boys at Camelback. But yeah, you mentioned it. I said it on one of my shows recently as well. You look at the struggles this team has had in the postseason since winning it all in 2020, and Walker was burnt out in 21.
Yeah, didn't count.
He had a huge ramp up when it comes to his innings count, because everybody had a huge ramp up when it came to their inning count in 2021 because of the shortened season. So he was electric. I mean, this is a guy that he posted what was, I think, a at or near 8-win season by Baseball Reference, wins above replacement, was insane in 2021. Ran out of gas, robbed for an ERA title that year thanks to Craig Counsell and not Dodger Corbin Burns, and then 22, obviously the elbow starts barking, has the surgery. Dodgers get bounced in the first round. He's nowhere to be seen in 23 because they decided smarter just to shut him down, and Dodgers get bounced in the first round. If there is one key to the success of this Dodgers pitching staff, it is Walker F. and Buehler.
Yeah, and so and yeah, the velocity. It also people are, and I've been asked many times about it, but my answer has always been Walker's always kind of had a crappy spring. He's been a
Yeah,
slow starter,
that's true.
just in terms of well, he's just not ready, and he's had delayed starts and things like that. I think in 2019 and 2020, everyone had a delayed start, so that doesn't
Yeah,
really count.
the start
Um,
stop there.
yeah. And then he's also done a few mechanical changes because he's trying not to get hurt again. So,
Hmm.
I know Doug talked about it. He's one of the most intelligent guys out there in terms of knowing what he needs to do. Um, Going out and learning how to make some changes is important. I hope that Dustin May does the same because his mechanics are just going to break. He's going to keep breaking the way he throws. There's just too much going on with that. Bueller's trying to tighten it up a little bit, which is great. Um,
Yeah,
hope,
Bueller's sitting 92, 94
yeah,
still works. He's still got enough another, more weapons in the arsenal, and to know that at some point in time, if he needs it, he could probably rear back and still dump a 98 in there if he needs it. I don't think he's ever been somebody that overly relies on that velo. Yeah, it's always sexy to see the 98, 99 light up, sometimes 100, but there's enough other guys that have the high velo in the rotation now where he could kind of sit back and worry about, okay, let's stay on the bump for the next 8 seasons as opposed to 5 or whatever it is, and have to undergo another surgery because I don't know if you bounce back again. But
yeah.
do you like, as I flip the script on you here, do you like the idea of the kind of delayed start to the season, or do you think that's something that could mess up somebody as kind of routine oriented as Walker? I mean, we're looking at maybe a May season debut
Yeah,
now.
I'm good with it because if they've already said they're limiting his innings, they haven't talked about how many that is. The innings I care about are in October. I think he'll adjust. Of course, my biggest hope, of course, is that he does a couple rehabs at Rancho for obvious reasons. That would be wonderful. But yeah, I think that they realize how important he can be. He's not he's not an essential, but boy, it would be really nice if we could have a healthy staff, or at least a semi-healthy staff, with one of them being Walker Buehler going into the postseason. We do know there's going to be injuries during the season.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we've got a few healthy guys now. As the season goes, some of them will drop. Walker will have been starting to move in. He'll probably take someone's spot as someone else goes on the IL. It's just the way it is with pitching these days. They go until they break,
Yeah, that's
and
a fact.
yeah, it's just kind of yeah. They're become really a commodity. You go out and you throw 100 miles an hour, your arm falls off. It's happening all over. I mean, there were so many Tommy John surgeries down in the minors. You just kind of lose track of them. How many of it happened? And speaking of Tommy John, there was one more. JP Fireeisen, you talked about him. He's been giving up some dongs, but again, coming back from Tommy John surgery, maybe he's not quite into it yet. He's got different stuff than he definitely a different look than the rest of the team, which is something that I know the Dodgers value, especially coming out of the bullpen.
Hmm.
And I do think he'll be an important part of the season as he goes. But yeah, he's like you said, he does have an option. There's also the option of the injured list if he's not quite ready either for that. Um, but yeah, JP Fireheisen. So, I mean, if you look at it, we got 4 new guys that were injured last year: Gavin Lux, Blake Trinan, Walker Buehler, and JP Fireheisen. You make me a trade like that, and I get those 4 guys. I've probably had a pretty darn good offseason compared
Yeah,
to,
that's
The
some
Padres.
exceptional talent to be adding to the club. Yeah, this organization's been really high on Fire Eisen, and I'm pretty sure he had the shoulder thing, if I'm not mistaken. Not 100% sure. Maybe it was Tommy John, or it
Yeah.
might have been another similar Blake shoulder thing, just because, I mean, shit, he ended up missing the entirety of 23 when they were expecting him to be back. But they're really high on him. Like you said, he provides a different look, and I'm always kind of, all side eye relievers that give you a different look. Like I'm not all in on submariners until I see them get outs, at a consistent basis and all that. I would not really want, a Trevor Rogers or a Tyler Rogers in my bullpen if they were making their debut with the team or whatever. All that said, you know, you're talking about adding those four guys, two of them being relievers, and how just how much how much depth it adds to the bullpen. But it's also, on the flip side, um, this team is really relying on these guys to be right and to be healthy, or else, pretty quickly we're moving down the rung to, I mean, we feel pretty confident about who was the guy you mentioned earlier, another Nabil Krismat, but still I would feel better if he didn't end up making the
Yes.
team, because that means everybody else is doing well and is staying healthy at the big league level. But Fireeisen, Trinan, and definitely Bueller just gives the entire pitching staff a very different look that from what we saw in October, it very much needed.
Yeah. And I had predicted before the offseason started that the Dodgers by now would have traded probably 5 guys off their top 30 list. And I think really it was only Vivas that was traded. DeLuke, I don't know, and Bush, of course. But
Yeah,
in the Vivas trade, they got Sweeney. So that was another guy that on the top 30. And in the Bush trade, they got Ferris. So now we have
Harrison.
Ferris Bueller, which is important, of course.
In case
So that,
everybody missed that one.
yeah, that was one. That was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, everybody had that tweet that day, and I was just like, all right, you guys have your fun.
For sure. I do think I was first though.
Sources.
Sources, hashtag sources. So it leaves the Dodgers going, okay, well, we made all these moves and we're still pretty loaded in the farm system. Keith Law has us as number 3. And if things go south, we got plenty of weapons, plenty of things to trade for to make moves that need to be made. I just going into the season, this is the best that I thought the 2020 team, before all that crap happened with the pandemic and everything, I thought that team was fantastic.
Yeah.
Plus they were all pissed off too after what happened. So as they should have
I mean,
been.
that team just went out and acquired Mookie Betts. Everything was set to really to have an insane regular season, and that the rug was pulled out from under them. They still had an insane regular season, and then won all of those games that everybody had the opportunity to win in 2020. They just happened to win all 13 and hoist that piece of metal. 2022 is supposed to be an insanely good team as well. Things just didn't work out.
Yeah.
You go out and win, what was it, 107 games or
11.
whatever the hell they won, 111. That's right.
Wow.
And it's about having the right talent in the right spots. And even with some of the question marks this team may have right now, all good teams are going to have question marks, because you need to keep competition in the locker room. Competition, that's how you get rid of complacency. And we've seen this team kind of give off the aura of complacency as time, and they've kind of hinted at it a little bit. Max Muncy, one of the guys I always appreciate, when he does his interviews, he he doesn't do the Andrew Friedman style of interview. No. He actually uses the words that we all want to hear.
Yes.
So it's a really good looking roster. Hell of an offseason again
Well,
for
as
Andrew
Harold
Brandon
Reynolds
and
says,
company.
there are a lot of good-looking dudes in baseball. You said it's a good-looking roster.
This is true. A lot of handsome boys out there.
Yeah.
A couple of names, that you didn't mention here because nobody's really as excited about NRIs. I love me some NRIs. They just added Justin Wilson, which is kind of
Oh
an
gosh.
intriguing name.
Yes.
The
Dang it.
TJ McFarland was
Yep.
one that kind of slipped under the radar, but two lefties that
Mhm.
have some track record. One much better than the other being Wilson, who's coming back from injury, and then injured himself while coming back from injury.
Oh, awful. Yeah.
If this is a team that's still, you mentioned there's still maybe some moves in the works. I always said, I've had people on the show ask me a few times, and my show asked me a few times, like, do you think they're done? And I'm like, no, but they're going to be done with the big moves. Now it's going to be the NRIs. It's going to be the smaller moves. It's going to be, Tyler Anderson was like okay kind of move, even though he
Yeah.
did sign a major league, deal, $8 million into spring training in 2022, but it was, a deal that proved to be pretty massive. And I think Wilson could be one of those dudes. Jesse Hahn is in there as one of the
Jesse Hahn.
NRIs. Kevin Gowdy is another one of those guys you've seen throughout his long big league tenure as well. So if we know, also another one of the things this team loves to do is have those. They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna call it officially a 6-man rotation, but they like to have those guys down at
Yeah.
AAA, the Matt Andreeses or whatever, somebody that's gonna come up, give you a start, and then be DFA'd or whatever. There was the other guy too that he did like an emergency start, then got hurt, and then he ended up with Philly. I forget
Yeah.
his name, but those type of dudes, Eliezer Hernandez that we
Right.
did mention earlier, Chrismat, all of those guys are all important pieces to the long 162 game season. But thankfully, we know this team could build a regular season team, but thankfully it feels like they finally did the moves they need for an October team again. Now, what is an October team? You don't know. Nobody knows. But to me, like I've said on my show before, like this tastes like an October team.
Right. It does.
Crazy.
And just to see, so Shohei Ohtani has been obviously the biggest story in years in baseball. This is huge. But the fact that the guy was out there at Dodger Stadium every day, and of course, then Gavin Lux and Walker Buehler were out there with him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, 2 days after Fan Fest, Dodger Fest, who was in Arizona already? Shohei Ohtani leading the way. And I think that people like a Gavin Lux and a James Outman or Walker Buehler, those guys are going to go, this guy's the best. Why aren't I doing what he does? I think those guys are smart enough to go, yeah, I'm going to start doing those things too. And hopefully more guys do that, just to go put in the work. I know with Shohei, because he is also rehabbing a Tommy John surgery
I
that,
forget. Yeah.
so people go, oh, he didn't have to worry about pitching this year. Oh, yes, he does. He's rehabbing his arm. I don't know if that's harder than recovering or being a starter. I have no idea. Haven't been through it yet myself in the major league. So, and I don't see it happening, even though I am left-handed. Hint, hint. But just it's him setting that type of example, I think, is a good thing. I mean, everyone, you see the little whinies about why isn't Freddie and Mookie out there? Well, I know why. They're married and they got kids. When you have that, it's a different thing. And but I think Shohei's going to inspire those guys too. For guys like that, they have a chance to not only, and I think all three of those guys are Hall of Fame players already, but they can be absolute legends and multi-time Los Angeles Dodger world champions, having parades on Figueroa Boulevard, me wearing my freaking Joe Davis, Oral Hershiser sweater.
Yes, sir.
I don't care how hot it's going to be. And we're out there, probably streaking. I mean, if we have to, we'll just be out there,
We're gonna be dancing in the
Oh,
throw a little
man.
Tommy in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. But I just, to see his work ethic,
No, it's impressive. This is a guy that, you know, um, we see it with Kershaw. We've seen it with Kershaw for the last, coming up on 2 decades because, we're old. But players talk about the Kershaw, but it doesn't get the fanfare.
Right.
Now you're getting the fanfare. You're seeing everything, and let's also be fair. Kershaw's an every fifth day guy, so it's kind of a little bit different. But still, these are what is it usually? The Hall of Fame guys they put in the work. You don't just
Yeah.
you have the talent, but you don't just fall into the Hall of Fame. You got to figure out how to be good and stay good. And Shohei is an impressive beast so far. Also, I was going to say, be careful with the idea of Mookie and Freddie not being around because they have family and kids and all that. Because Anthony Rendon might pop into the chat and have something to say about that. But no, I think the Ohtani era is going to be, in my professional opinion, insane for the Dodgers, and you gotta bring home at least 3 rings to make this worthwhile. And I think that's almost like 3 and 5. Maybe that we could also shut up Giants fans
Yeah.
busting a 3 and 5 out. But you feel more confident than at least heading into the season. You feel more confident than ever about hoisting that trophy at the end of this year. And we've had a lot of confidence over the last few years that this team can go out and do some special things, and they can, and then they peter out. But this is now, it's now a different animal for sure. And you got a dude who wants to win so much that he's like, whatever, just pay me $2 million this year. I'm good. I want to win. I'm
Okay.
so hurt about my ex that I want to come here and have be treated well. And
Yeah.
and he's putting in the work to give back already.
Yeah, and he's a guy that has goals, of being the greatest baseball player of all time. I mean, and he's on his way. I mean, he's such a freak in what he's done, and yeah, the work ethic is impressive, and it's good. It's a great example for all those players. Yeah, greatness is, he's blessed. We know that,
Yeah,
but
that
it
that
takes
is
a lot of extra work
he is
to
a
come off.
specimen of a human being for sure. And I love the idea of him also, kind of challenging the status quo of guys like Mookie and Freddie. We know Freddie's going to go out there. He's going to post. I've said it a number of times. I hope he doesn't go out and post for 162 or
Right.
160 games. Like, my guy, you're older now. Give yourself some rest. So maybe I don't think rest. I think his swing was just bad at the end of last year at the worst possible time, pressing for numbers and all of that.
Mhm.
But hopefully this also, Mookie had a great year, kind of petered off. But this is another thing where Mookie's got the challenge of like, oh man, I got to kind of keep up with Shohei now. I'm trying to go out and win a Gold Glove at second base. I think all of the little pieces are in place for something special this year.
Yeah, I think it's that right mix of with Mookie kind of pissed off at himself. He should be, and I like that. He should be, and yeah, it's very exciting. I can't wait. Uh, man, we have baseball. Like I said, by the time this airs, we'll probably have already played an exhibition game or two, and man, let's go.
That's right. We
And
get
then,
to all hear my second favorite Tim around the Dodgers, Tim Neverett, because obviously you're
yeah,
everybody's favorite Tim.
I let Tim Nevers guy. He's such a nice guy, man.
He's
Just
one of the good ones. I appreciate him.
yeah, the dude knows the game. He loves talking about the game too. And yeah, if you ever have a chance to meet Tim Neverett, go for it. And then we got some baseball coming up, real baseball in what 5 weeks? Let's call it 5 weeks.
Yeah,
Probably
they're
no, it's a
about.
little less than that because this is February, so it's a weird one. So I'm gonna say what 30 days from now?
It would be exactly what, one, two. I got to count. You got to count them out these days.
Yeah.
Just under 4 weeks from Cactus League lid lifter to Korea game one, because that's on Wednesday, right? Not Thursday. The
It's
20th is when they
it's a
play.
3 a.m. thing. That's all I know.
You
Here we
staying up?
go.
I hope you called out already, pre-called out to work for a couple of days.
Oh, I'm loading up on the Diet Dr. Pepper already, and I'll be ready. But yeah, can't wait. I mean, as I'm sure y'all are all fired up about this season. It's definitely been the off season to remember. There's never been anything like it that I can recall. There's been some big ones, but this has been one of those things where it's been so strategic. It's not like, you give AJ Preller a machine gun and he just starts spraying everywhere.
How many shortstops can I go out and get?
Yeah. Versus, Friedman and company, they're snipers.
Yeah.
They're going after the high value targets. They know exactly what they wanted. They executed the plan probably beyond anything they thought would happen to get, Shohei and Yamamoto. My gosh. Oh yeah, and by, Japan loves the Dodgers. The Dodgers own Japan. I mean, straight up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a fun relationship over there for a good long while as well. I mean, honestly, probably from here for the next, 50, 60 years, the impact we're going to see having these two guys on this team and hopefully knock on desk here being successful.
Yeah, I'm expecting, once they get rid of the Guggenheim patch, it's going to be something from Japan, and they're going to pay like $1 billion to be on that thing or something like that. It's going to be just, you know, they're going to put up a statue of whoever, I mean, it's going to be
Hopefully
insane.
Friedman first. Let's go Kershaw, then Friedman, and then I'm good.
Hey, get another couple World Series, and yeah, I'll start pitching in money for it. That's for sure. Oh,
We all are with our Michelada monies.
yeah, and we can only hope you can only hope to be as good at your job as Andrew Friedman is. I mean, the Dodgers have people like that, whether it's in the announcing booth, Vince Scully, Joe Davis. People could say all they want about Doc, and I've said enough about him myself. But the dude's in command there, and he's done a pretty darn good job. So, but pressure's on him, don't you think? A little bit,
This by far is going to be his most pressure-filled, pressure-packed season as manager of the Dodgers because all eyes around the world, quite literally, are going to be on this team. And how do you handle that first big lull? How do you handle, Bill Plunkett asking you the question that makes you salty? How do you handle the Salty Dave era in 2024? That's going to be fun to see. And, I mean, Davis is best equipped as he's ever been for the worst case scenarios, the best case scenarios. All he's got to do is just keep people, keep people moving in the right direction, keep the line moving, keep the morale up. Entrust his lieutenants to do their job. People like Mookie, people like Muncy, people like Jason Hayward, who we talked about earlier, and they got all the right pieces in place. And finally have the right pieces in October to, the last couple of years, admittedly, Dave's hands have been kind of tied with a bad bullpen or a bad starting rotation or, all of the above kind of falling apart in 21. So health is going to be, I would argue, paramount for this team.
Doc probably on his knees every night praying for the health. And, in 2020, when we had our first appearance of Salty Dave, the Dodgers played really well after Salty Dave came out. So I'm a fan of Salty Dave. That's one of my favorites. And even Salty Dave kind of came out with the whole Shohei thing. He's like, I just don't give a what. I'm just going to say I'm tired of being muzzled. Let me at least say something that's Captain Obvious. So
yeah, I had that as one of the kind of passing topics on one of my live streams recently is like, or I was asking somebody on the show, it's like Dave kind of feels like he's in his I don't IDGAF era, and I think that's really really good for him and the team.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it's time, and he gets another World Series, he's in the Hall of Fame, straight up. You get two, you're in, and maybe even if they just win a few more. Get to the World Series a few more times, but you don't want to get in like Bobby Cox with just one. You want to get in with 5.
Yeah, let's plug in a couple more. Let's give him more of a Joe Torre than a Bobby Cox.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's also a much better human being than Bobby Cox. We'll just leave it there.
Leave it there for sure.
Doc's a good human being.
He is a great dude.
He is. He absolutely is. I've met him a few times. I met him at a high school. The first time I met him.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool, and he was he was very commanding. Just the way you meet him, and he has a presence about him, and that's that's something that he has. He has a charisma and everything like that. So I'm a fan of Dave, no matter what I may say about some of his decisions, but I never went full Marshall Garvey.
Oh, Garv.
One of the greatest articles of all time at DN. That's
That's another one. We'll leave it at that. Go hunt and find it if you guys are interested.
Yep. So, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being on here, Clint. I know it is kind of gosh, why didn't you have Clint on earlier? That's for sure.
No, it's all good, man. I understand. Like you said, you want to make sure that the breath smells good and you had the right tie and all that. And I'm sticking around, but no, I appreciate it, man. It's fun. Got to have you back on as well before the season gets going. Plenty to talk about with this team. We know that, and I appreciate. I know how much you appreciate this incredible fan base here on the YouTube, and I know now you're finally doing podcasts just to add one more little platform for people to be able to hear some stuff. So if you guys happen to be, as we're way late in the show, if you guys happen to be coming from my channel, you're not already, make sure you're subscribing to Tim, because it's one of the hardest working dudes in show business here. But remember, he's a software engineer. He's not a baseball engineer here.
That's right. It was a software architect by day and baseball
There it is.
whatever at night. Some would call me a savant, some would call me an idiot. So whatever, I don't care. But Clint, he has his new channel, All Dodgers, right? Is it just at All Dodgers?
Yeah, at All Dodgers. You can also search All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas. Got the website, alldodgers.com. Haven't really been doing that much there of late, trying to ramp it up a little bit. But, it's one of those things that felt it's kind of been harder to restart. Didn't have the same, I guess, passion I thought I did for that as I do for doing this kind of stuff. I love talking Dodger baseball as opposed to typing about it more at times. But, got some things in the works. So people just keep tubing in to everybody, all of our friends here on the internet, and let's go win a parade together. I don't know how you win a parade,
yeah.
Well,
Let's have a meetup on Figueroa Street around early November.
I mean,
we'll all be out there. All right. Well, thank you very much, Clint, and we will be at you some other time soon, I'm sure, whether I'm on your show, you're on mine. And but most importantly, hope to see you at the stadium sometime soon.
That would be fun. I feel like I owe somebody somewhere a beer. I know I owe our friend Gail Johnson a beer, but I'll get you one while I'm out there too.
Yeah, we got to get Gail out here again. That's for sure. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Clint, and
Yes,
we'll talk to you later. This was recorded on Tuesday, February 20th. Couple days before the first spring training game. Want to thank again my friend, mentor, one of the all-time greats, Mr. Clint Pasillas. Please make sure, and I'm sure you already all are, but make sure you're following him and subscribing and all that good stuff. Follow him on Twitter at RealFRG. Make sure you're subscribing to him on YouTube at All Dodgers. So again, thank you, and thank you to everyone for watching, listening, bearing with us. As always, thank you so much. God bless, and go Dodgers.